me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.
Hello, hello, hello. Listen, this is your girl, Maxine Pearl, coming your way live and wanted to make sure that you tag someone to have them to come in. I have a treat for you tonight. We're going to be talking about high performance, high performing employees. So let someone know. Come on in, join us. You can always connect with me at levelist@gamsunlimited.com. If the question is not answered tonight, send the question to me. Let's have a chat about it. Let's meet and let's make sure that you have the necessary information that you need. I am the host of the Life Strategy Show. And what is the purpose of this? This show is so that we can bring strategies to you so that you can take them and use them and apply them. That's best for your career, that's best for your as an entrepreneur or as a business owner. Is best for you. You know what's going to work for you. And so the information that I'm sharing, I've been in human resources for over 50 years. Yes, I'm telling my age. I am telling my age a little bit, but that's okay because I'm here to tell it. So go on, let someone know. Let me know where you dialing in from. Let me know where you're watching. Say hi to me. I'm going to be checking the chat box and I'm going to be checking to see do I have any comments out here? So you have a question, go on and put it in the comment box and it will get to me and we can answer it as we are on live. Level less. Level less is all about knowing your worth. It is about defining what success is for you. Then it's about designing a strategy. In designing that strategy, it is to help you to understand how do you deliver or implement or take action or execute in order to reach that goal that you established for yourself when you created the strategies. It is about planning, it is about staying organized, but the other part about it, it is about you continually succeeding on your terms. That's right, on your terms, because no one knows the legacy that you want to leave on this earth when you're no longer here but you. And the way to do it is to understand who you are, know your worth, design that what success is for you, deliver on your promises, and live the best life. And in doing that, that's where your passion and your purpose cross one another and is about being fulfilled and also being happy. But happy again depends on you, the person. Go on, reach out. Let me know where you're calling from. Let me know where you're dialing in from. Let me know where you are viewing us from because this is being on podcast TV via Roku and Amazon, and it's also on YouTube. So there's so many different places in which you will be able to see this information from this evening. When I put out there and I talked about high performing teams or high performing employees or a high performing individual, my question to you, do you deem yourself as a high performer? Do you deem yourself as performing at your maximizing your abilities? Well, that's what it's all about. Because when we talk about high performance, it's about you, the individual. It's about you setting goals for yourself. And when I talked about high performing employee, where do you find them? How can you find them? Where do you look? But first of all, let's talk about looking, finding, seeking those employees. There's so many different avenues you can take. As a small business owner, as the head of an organization, human resources, or if you're in charge of referring individuals to a particular company, or you're a headhunter. Yes, there's so many different ways that you can look for those high performing employees. First of all, is when there's a job opening. When there is a job opening, individuals apply for the job opening. You, the person that's seeking that person in order to fill an opening, you're going to look at those job openings, or I'm sorry, look at those resumes that were submitted. And depending on how many resumes were submitted would depend on how you use that information. So right now we're talking about it from an employer perspective, the head of an organization or an entrepreneur or business owner. The avenues that you can look for these high performing employees is when you have a job opening. But see, in order to know if this person has been performing at a high level, you must first determine what's the roles and responsibilities for that job opening. When you created a job description that gives the specifics, the specs on the roles and responsibilities that the person must perform once you hire them. So you have to be clear on that. So there has to be some clarity around that first and foremost. And then once the employee reads that, or the potential employee reads that job opening or job description, once you post it or once you share it or however you put it out there for it to be seen, they know within themselves if they're able to perform that job. Let's face it, yes, some individuals do apply for jobs when they know they don't necessarily have the skills. And it surfaces if they end up being the candidate of choice, it surfaces once they start trying to perform the job. But we want to head that off because the cost of a bad hire is very costly on the part of an organization. So we'll talk, that's for another discussion. But tonight we're talking about high performing employees. Where do you find them? Okay, we talked about when you have a job opening and you know the roles and responsibilities for that job opening, it must be clearly stated. So when the person, the potential candidate, look at that job opening and they're matching their skills up with what you said that you need, they know whether or not they can perform or have already performed at a high level. All right. So, first of all, is the job opening description. Another place that you can look for those employees is through the job board once you post it. What about professional organizations? Yes, many times the HR individuals or the person as the hiring manager belong to other associations and know people in other associations. So you can use your network to find these high performing employees. What about internally? Internal referrals. Ask your employees. Announce, put it on if you have a job board internally, post it there and see if there's someone internal who can fill that position. So many times you can promote from within, and that's definitely an employee morale booster when you are promoting from within. The other place that you can look would be not only on the job board, but the referrals, but what about LinkedIn? You have social media, you have mastermind groups that could be specific to that particular type of opening that you have. Let's say it's engineering. Well, we know we have engineering mastermind groups out there on Facebook, on LinkedIn, or you might know again of individuals. Always canvass your family members, because they might know individuals who are looking for a job. We talked about the internal employees, but also your family, your friends, other individuals that you know from another organization. It's not that you're trying to take people from another organization, but what if they are in the process of a layoff and you're not, but then you have openings in which some of their employees could fill and they can apply for it. So that's just making good use of the connections that you already have. So those are some of the ways that you can find high performing employees. The years that I've been in human resources, I tell you, when that referral comes from an internal employee, you know the person that's applying for the job have already been vetted by the employee that worked for you already. But of course, you are going to be looking at what is the performance of the employee who's referring this other person to you. And then you can take all of that into consideration. But what about temporary agencies? You might not necessarily have to hire someone on a permanent or regular basis. You could look at it from a temporary perspective and partner with temporary agencies. Those temporary agencies have vetted that person for you, and then you have the ability to allow that individual to work and see how their performance is actually going to be. Are they truly high performing? And so you get a chance to evaluate their performance. But just what, if you have gone through all of these resumes and you have landed on those 5 or 6 individuals that you have chosen to interview? I want you to ask yourself, what made you choose these 5 or 6 individuals over the other maybe 400 who applied? What was it about that resume? What was it about those accomplishments? What was it about what that person put on that resume that caused you to say, I want to interview them? Did you look at it from the perspective that they have shown you already that they have been performing at a high level? Now we have high performance versus top performance. So tonight we're talking about high performance. That person who is consistently performing with clarity, with quality, not up and down, but the consistency is there. They do their work ahead of time. They turn in that quality work. They have that interpersonal skills that everyone is respecting. Everyone likes them. They get along. They're a team player. High performing employees. One of the things that I talk about in a workshop that I do is called high performance teams, because I truly believe that if the individual perform at their highest level and each team member of a team perform at their highest level, then you have a high performing team. Oh, but there are stages that teams go through in order for them to get to that high performing teams. But we won't talk about that either, because that's another workshop where we'll talk about the stages of highly developing teams. But we start talking about that high performance again from the individual perspective. What was it about that person that caused you to choose them, to cause you to want to interview this individual? I ask the question because it's so essential that you have taken into consideration the roles and responsibilities of the job opening, from the person that's looking at the job opening to the manager who created the roles and responsibilities, and even to the HR person who posted the job. It's clear that you understand who you're looking for and the roles and responsibilities in which they will perform. Because when the outside world is looking at that job opening, they are matching up their skills with the opening roles and responsibilities that you've stated. And they are deciding, evaluating, revisiting if not only do they have the knowledge, skills, and abilities, but they have performed at a high level already. Their performance is already, you know, extraordinary. It's already outstanding. It's already excellent. It also brings me to, if you hired the person after you interview them. But before that, I want to talk a little bit about when you're interviewing individuals. How are you going to determine if they are high performing individuals right then and there as you're interviewing them? But there is something that's called behavioral based interview questions. And that's where you have an opportunity to ask the question and allow that person to provide a demonstration, a story, an example of how they've already performed in that situation. So that's how you can determine and have an idea as you are interviewing individuals if they are already high performing individuals for other companies or in other roles or on other projects. When you're also interviewing the person, pay close attention to the information that's being delivered. First of all, does it match up with the role and responsibilities that you described in the job opening? And next, is the example that they're using given a demonstration of what they contributed to the resolution or to the results? And then, what were the actual results that they shared with you? That will give you an idea as to how that person is performing, or are they performing, or are they a high performing person? So, this is just something that you can think about as an HR person, as a leader, as a small business owner, as a organization owner who's looking for individuals to hire. Now, that's from the organization perspective. But if we flip the switch and we say from the person who's going to be applying for the job, what do you need to do to show that employer that you are a high performing employee and that you have been and you've demonstrated it? That means you have to know your resume, and that resume should have already demonstrated your notable achievements, and those notable achievements should be a story that describes how you've contributed, how you've added value to the organizations that you've already worked for, that you already held those particular roles and responsibilities. I won't say job title, because we can put a title against, we could say a title, but the roles and responsibilities might not match the title that's given. So that's why I always use the words roles and responsibilities, because it's critical that as the person, you look at the roles and responsibilities that's being described in the job opening. As a manager or as an organization, it's crucial that you describe exactly what you're looking for when it comes to the roles and responsibilities. So there's a good match. That there's a match, because the last thing we want is not to have a match and a fit for the person who's walking into your organization that's new. Where else can you look for these high performing employees? So, listen, employees, I'm giving you tips on both ends, what the employer is looking for and what you need to be doing in order to be found, or that you are selected as a final candidate for that position. So take notes. These are platinum nuggets that I'm dropping for you. And that's why it's called the Life Strategies Show, so that you can put a strategy in place in order for you to be selected as that final candidate for the job opening. But you have to understand how to position yourself so that the employee can see you as at high performance, as high performing, as a high performer once you're hired. So you have to continue to do what you say you can do. Don't just have it on the resume who implies that you can do it and who can tell a story that's centered around showing that you can do it. But when it comes to the application part, we have a problem. And that's not what we want. We want you to continue to be able to perform at a high level so that you can be seen as a high performing employee. I talk about high performance, and I know we have top performers. And a high performance person is someone who's what? Establishing your goals. You know the roles and responsibilities that's on the job description, and you know whether or not you've already performed those. And you being the final candidate for the position and offer the job, and then you're on the job, you must still set goals for yourself. Don't wait for your manager to come in and ask you or tell you. Ask. You ask them so that you have a better understanding of some maybe an additional roles and responsibilities that you might be responsible for that was not on the job description when you were hired. So, see, there's so many different angles you can go with this high performing. But the important thing is, employers, you are going to look in so many different areas for these high performing employees. But first, start internal. Look at who you have internally. And I know there's the legal side of it that you have to advertise, and that's okay. You do your advertising, but also look internally and have those internal individuals to apply for the job. They still submit their resume. They still go through the interviewing. They still have to tell their stories in order to you to understand what they've already done with the company to show that they've already demonstrated and that they're performing at the level that you need for them to perform at, and they can do the roles and responsibilities that you have documented on this job opening. And then the external. There's a lot of stakeholders, customers, partners, associations again, temporary agencies. Build the relationships with those temporary agencies. Partner with them. They get to understand the job roles and responsibilities that you have described. Therefore, as they're vetting the individuals who come into their facility and applying, that they are also matching up what the person says on their resume versus what you have on the job description. Again, if you see, I'm going back and forth with clarity on the job opening, matching up with the clarity when you're vetting on the resume, and then you have another opportunity to understand even more through the interviewing process. And of course, you're going to do your due diligence when it comes to an organization and looking at their social media background, seeing what's going on in their world. What are they known for? How are even they're contributing? Do they fit into your culture? And if so, because many times their LinkedIn profile is going to reveal what their values are. It's going to reveal what their competencies are. It's going to help you to understand, are they already engaged in the community and doing charity work or giving back in some way? So as an employer, you have so many options that you can look at in order to understand what makes up this person. What makes up the whole person that you're hiring? Because after all, you have the roles and responsibilities listed on the job opening, and they can meet those minimum requirements. But the whole person is going to show up for the job. Not only did they meet their requirements, but now they must apply to show you that they can do the roles and responsibilities in which you have a need for. So we have a great match. It's so critical that the person that you're looking for and the person that you select for the role is a good fit, not only for the culture, but also for the skills and For the interpersonal skills, we have the technical skills and the interpersonal skills and the culture. So all of that goes hand in hand. Yeah, I know it's a lot of information, a great lots of platinum nuggets that I'm dropping, but there have been a lot of layoffs. The job market has opened up some. It's hard people, the companies are hiring, but it's always rumors and more rumors of other layoffs. So what you do is you be prepared. Always be prepared. Prepare, prepare, prepare. I cannot stress that enough. That means keeping that resume up to date so that you are demonstrating that you are the high performing employee. Once a hiring manager or HR or whomever it is come across your resume, and they can come across your resume in several ways. You can submit it. Your LinkedIn profile should be a representation of your resume. A friend might submit your name. The internal person might submit your name, or they might just come across it, through conversations with someone that you shared your resume with. So you never know how you are going to be found. Because after all, this is what you want. You want it to be a great match. You want it to be a great match. So as I, the 50, the, whew, gosh, the 4+ decades that I have in human resources, yes, I've seen some lots of things that come across through resumes and through interviewing and through individuals who are selective of the job but couldn't perform the activities. They could not perform the roles and responsibilities of what they said they could do. So it's no longer where you can fake it to make it. You have to be able to demonstrate. Let me see if I have any comments. Not yet, not yet, not yet, not yet. But go on, write some comments and let me know if you have any. So the other thing about high performing employees, they have certain habits. We talked about the clarity. They're going to ask for clarity. Even during the interview, they're going to ask for clarity. They're going to seek out maybe who the interviewer is going to be for that particular role. They are going to bring a lot of energy to the table because they're already excited about what it is that they do. You can see the passion already written across their face. Don't mistake an extrovert or don't even underestimate an introvert. Just because an introvert is not all out, open, because they're not the extrovert, but those introverts have so many great ideas as well, and they can perform even in a quiet manner. And before you know it, they've done 2 or 3 times the work that's needed. So don't underestimate our introverts. The other thing is a high performance habit is that they always continuously want to learn, continuously learning. That high performance person is not that they bounced all over the place with different companies and jobs and stuff like that. Many times because they have that desire to learn. They want to learn more and become that expert at it. They want to be able to contribute and to add value. In order for to them, they see themselves adding value by learning different things within the organization. They volunteer for a lot of roles. They volunteer for committees. So they volunteer in order to, because they have an opportunity to show you their skills. Not every skill is going to be seen, or not every ability would be seen just because you hire them for a certain position. But if they volunteer for a committee, then they allow them an opportunity to show you other skills and abilities that they have. Then they demonstrate a lot of courage. They don't mind speaking up, but it's professional, it's thought provoking, it's not to be to cause friction. But in other words, what they do is they believe in being a part of the team. What can they do to add value to the team and to the organization? So this is what you're looking for even when you're looking at their resumes. This is what you want to observe even when you're in the interviewing process. These are some of the things that you can look for when it comes to what are some of the habits of a high performance person. Again, I can't stress it enough that look at the resume, look for these clues on the resume, and listen to the stories in which they are telling during the interview. So that's from the organization perspective. Now, from the employee wanting to be a part of an organization, you got to come with it. You have to put it on that resume. You have to make sure that it's documented already. And you have to make sure that when you're in that interview that you bring out these points during the interview. You want that employer to see that you are a high performing person. They should not have to guess at it, because if they guess at it, that's not good on your part. So you want to make sure that they automatically can see it and they can witness it and they can hear it and you're demonstrating it. The other thing is that you want to help that employee to understand that you are self-directed. Does it take a lot of supervision? It should not, because after all, you're high performing. You're seeking, you're asking, you're observing, you're reflecting. And not only that, you're demonstrating your understanding. The other thing that an employee should also be able to observe is during the interviewing is, do you maintain your coolness under pressure? Or do you let things get next to you and you flare up? How do you handle certain situations? So doing that behavioral based interviews, that's where the employer can ask those questions. So employer B, definitely have those questions documented in order to understand how will this person perform under pressure? How will they meet those deadlines? So see, both you got both going. You have from the employer perspective, and then you have the high performing employee, the potential employee. But you have to, from an organization, you have to ask those tough questions. You have to get that answer from the person that you're interviewing so you can make an informed decision based on those behavioral based questions, based on the notable achievement, based on when you do your referrals or recommendations. All of that you take into consideration. It's almost like having a pie and you're looking at all 8 pieces of that pie to make sure that you've covered all your angles and all your bases. Because after all, what we do here at Levelist is to help to ensure you make a great hire and it's a good fit for that role and responsibility that you're looking for that person to perform. So that would be another way. The other thing is, I talked about interpersonal skills. I can't stress that enough. How do you treat your coworkers? How do they treat leaders? How do they treat the executive team, the president of it? Are you asking those questions from the employer? Are you asking those questions in order to get that information out from the potential employee? You need to be. You must be able to cover those bases. Again, so many individuals out here that are applying for jobs. This is your way of making sure that you are selecting a high performing employee from the beginning. That's why I truly believe that when the person that you hire is the final candidate for that position and you make a job offer, that you have already determined that they are a high performing employee. They are already a high performing employee. And the person, if you receive an offer letter, and you say yes to it and you sign off on it, then you should deem yourself as a high performing employee. You don't have to wait on someone to say you are a high performing person. Now, there are such things as top performers because everyone can be performing at the highest level, but there's some that's going to do things differently and they might be deemed as a top performer. I want you to understand high performing and top performer. So everybody can be performing and be deemed as a high performance person. But there are some things that will set you apart that will you will end up being looked upon as a top performer. And that's where you get a certain percentage of the organization that they choose as top performers. And that's something that you have to decide that you want to do something different to show that you are the elite of the elite in that particular job role. That's just your decision. What I do is I'm here to ensure that everyone understands that you can be a high performing employee. That's essential to me is that you understand that because that's a confidence builder and it also helps the team that you're on when you're performing at your peak and you're doing what your best. So that's where you get the individual high performing. Every team member that's performing their best, they're going to have a high performing team. Then, if every team is performing its best, you're going to have a high performing organization. Now, there's development that teams go through. We talked about that. That's another different conversation because we have the stages of team development, and every team is going to go through these stages of team development. It never fails. There's 5 stages, and they go through all 5 stages before they become that final stage, which is considered the high performing team. But that's another conversation for another day. Let's see if we have any questions. Any comments? Any comments? Not yet. Okay, not yet, not yet, not yet. I want you to, if you think of some questions or comments later, I want you to be able to send it to Maxine. And you got here it goes levelers at gamsunlimited.com. You can send it there and I will get your questions and I can put an answer to it and get it right back to you. Now, let's see. When we talk about high performing employees, one of the things that they do is skills development, continuous learning. When you set goals for yourself, I want you to understand that there's some goals that might be that you should have stretch goals. Not every goal is going to be stretched, but some of your goals should be stretch goals. And those stretch goals allow you to be developing yourself along the way. And in that development, that's where you set up a development plan for yourself. And that development plan helps you to ensure that you meet your goals. Because after all, when you come to a performance evaluation, those goals are for you to meet them or exceed them. It's not for you to miss them. Now, I do, performance management training, establishing goals for yourself, whether you're going to do them at the beginning of the year, mid-year, and end of year, and even how do you document your performance in order to help your manager to see the value that you added. I know I just posted this past week one of my clients and her being promoted. It's like, keep your resume updated. Hello. Because if there's an internal opening, you need to be able to be ready to interview for it, to submit your resume for it. And the only way to do it is to stay up to date with your resume and to document your achievements and to show the value that you add into an organization. So that's how that's how employers, or that's how the managers are going to find their top performing employees, their high performing employees. And then some is going to surface, on and on and on. They're going to surface. And that's when it become those top performers. And this, again, is only a percentage of the organization that they deem as top performers. I know you already know all of that. So if I start summarizing some of this, who can tell me what one of the things that I said that an employer should make sure even before they post a position or a job opening? Anyone? Let me see if I'm telling anybody can tell me. Not yet? Okay. All right. I see one person saying to yes, that's right. Bring clarity to the roles and the responsibilities. That's correct. Bring clarity. Make sure that it's understood what the roles and responsibilities are for that job opening. That is correct. All right. So, what about you have two candidates? They're the final two, and you have to make a decision as to which one of those you're going to make the job offer to. How are you going to determine that? How are you going to determine it? Is it based on the high performing that they were able to demonstrate on the resume as well as during the interview, as well as all the other pieces of information that you were able to find out? So, candidates, potential candidates, the variables can go on and on and on. What you must do is understand what's your competitive advantage. Did you bring that out during the interview? Where did you demonstrate it on the resume? Because you have to look at it, it is semi-what of a competition. Because if you don't demonstrate that you stand out and that you can do the roles and responsibilities above and beyond, or the high performing, then you might not be the one that they offer the job to. But if you can, then your chances are greater that you would be part of the pool that they offer the job to. So you have to take all these things into consideration. Does one carry more weight than the other? I would say it depends. It depends on the job opening. It depends on the roles and responsibilities. It depends on the organization. It depends on how many are needed. It depends on the performance that you've demonstrated. So it depends. There are too many variables for me to sit here and tell you it's going to be this, this, and this over one or the other. Because I am not the one that's going to make that final decision. But what I can share with you as an employer, that if you look at these things and you look at, has that person demonstrated to you through their examples, through their experiences, through what's written on their resume, through the questions in which you have asked, and you have pointed, you have specifically designed those questions in order to ensure that that person has and can demonstrate that they can perform the roles and responsibilities is on that job opening. You've taken the time and you've created that. And even if it's a group interview, you still have the questions dispersed among the individuals who are going to be interviewing that person so that you make sure that you have all the areas covered. A skill, yes, a skill can be learned more advanced. But interpersonal skills, social skills, those are from within. That's a part of their DNA. That's a part of their makeup. Yes. So you're going to look at, do they meet the minimum qualifications? And then you're going to look at, what are the priorities for that role and responsibilities as you're making that decision? And of course, the person, your candidate, and you are looking at being the final one that they're going to make the job offer to, you have to prove yourself. You have to show them that you are worthy of them investing in you and making a job offer to you. But don't accept a job knowing that you're not able to perform. That's a disservice to you and is a disservice to the organization because the cost of a bad hire is very, very expensive from an organizational perspective. Very expensive. And I don't put a dollar amount to it because it depends on the job itself, the position itself. And so if I put a dollar amount to it, it could be incorrect based on the job opening. So I like to know how this has helped. I like to know what you're going to take away from it and do differently. I like to know, employers, where are you going to look for these high performing employees at? Where are you going to look for them at? Internally. Yeah, that's right. One of them is internal. What's another one? Yes, you can put it on the job boards and those individuals can find it. All right. What's another one? Social network. Yes. You have the Facebook groups. You have mastermind groups. You have LinkedIn groups. That is correct. And what about the professional associations? You have, there's so many different professional associations depend on the profession. From you got the medical, you have the legal, you have the HR, you have the training, you have the engineering, you have the arts, so there's so many different associations that you can use in order to find these high performing employees. And then you have the what else? The job search engines that you can look for. And remember that when it comes to the candidate, you being the final choice, remember that there is such a thing. It's called the ATS, the applicant tracking system that your resume very well could go through. And that could be the first point that the resume does not make it through, because it's important that you match up with what the roles and responsibilities are, that your resume also adheres to it and demonstrates and shows that you have those qualifications. So you have to also be thinking of that. And the other thing you have to be thinking of, I said, was what? Competitive advantage. What's your competitive advantage as to the reason why this company will want to hire you over the other applicants who applied for the position? That's right. You have to have a competitive advantage. Just like a product must have a competitive advantage. When we put our products out there, whether it's a book, whether it's a garment, whether it's something edible, whether it's a gourmet meal, whether it's exercising, it does not matter. It's going to have to demonstrate what's the competitive advantage as to the reason why the consumer will want to purchase this over another product. And it's the same thing when it comes to being hired for at a particular company. It's what's going to what sets you apart from everyone else that applied for that position. Know your competitive advantage. If you don't know it, hey, call me. Let's have a talk. Reach out to me. Contact me at the Maxine. You can do, I'm sorry, Maxine Pearl, but you can email me at levelist@gamsunlimited.com. And we can set up a time to talk about what's your competitive advantage, because it's important that you know who you are and you know your competitive advantage, because you must embrace it and you must be able to give stories around it, and you must be able to set yourself apart from the next person. My clients end up coming out there. I told them, I said, when you go in there to interview, you're going to tell your stories and you want them to say, who is that? I want to hire that person. So I'm going to say to you, take that and grab it and use it. Keep it in your mind that when you go in there to or when you're doing your resume, you want to say, when they read this, I want them to say, who is that? I want to interview that person. And once they interview you, you're going to do the same thing. You're going to show the demonstration, the value that you added, all the things that you've done, the high performing person that you are, how well you get along, you fit into their culture. And then they'll be able to, when you walk out of that room, you want them to be able to say, who was that? I want to hire her. I want to hire him. I want them working for us. I like that. I like their disposition. I like the values that they're bringing, that they brought to their other organization. They can bring them here as well. That's what you want to be able to have them to say when you leave that room. But you have to understand how to articulate it and how to get that competitive advantage across. I'm just reviewing my notes just to make sure that I've covered everything. If you want additional information, I want you to reach out to me at levelless@gamsunlimited.com so that we can have a discussion. You get on my calendar and we can talk about what's your competitive advantage and to ensure that your resume speaks to it, to ensure that once you interview, you're interviewing and you're demonstrating and you're using stories that will show the competitive advantage that you have for that particular role and how well you fit into that organization. I know I've given you a lot of information. I want you to digest it. I want you to think about it. I want you to write it down. I want you to take a sheet of paper, and this is your homework. I want you to take a sheet of paper. I want you to draw a line down the center of the sheet of paper. On one side of it, on the left side, I want you to put high performing, and I want you to tell me the things that you've done from a high performing perspective. On the right side, I want you to talk about your competitive advantage. Based on the job opening that you're applying for, what's your competitive advantage that you can bring into the story, that you want to make sure that you have it covered in your resume, that you want to ensure that you are sharing it during the interview? That's how they get to know you. That's how they're going to understand whether or not you're going to fit into that organization. And employers, that's how you're going to determine if the person that you're looking at and the resume that you just read and the person that you interviewed, oh, I want them. That's who I want in this position. Let's make them a job offer. So I've given you platinum nuggets, both sides. High performing employees, who are they? And where can you find them? Because they truly exist. They truly exist. But the only way to know is that it's a good match. It is a match between what you're looking for in that role and responsibility for that person that you just did a job description for versus the one that applied for the position. So it's important that those roles and responsibilities are clear and you know within yourself how they can produce and perform in your organization or even on your team. That's it for me. I'm gonna let the producer let the producer know that I'm just gonna be seeing if there are any questions, any comments. I'm eager to hear from you all, letting me know what's your competitive advantage. Set up a time to talk with me. Levelless@gamsunlimited.com so that I can understand your competitive advantage and you can understand it and you know how to use it. If there's more layoffs, you need to be able to understand how you're going to move forward in your career or in your profession. If you're already unemployed or underemployed, then you need to understand how to become better employed or even to get another job, to transition. If you're on that crossroad that you're trying to decide if you're going back to school or if you're going to become an entrepreneur, you still need to understand what's your competitive advantage. If you're unsure what that competitive advantage is, there is an assessment that we do that's called an ability assessment. And that ability assessment helps you to understand what are you naturally gifted at doing that you were born with that no one had to teach it to you. That's a competitive advantage. And that's how you're able to use it and demonstrate. But if you're unsure, this ability assessment can help you to discover it, identify it, or even confirm. Because many times you just might need to confirm that you already feel like you know, but you just got that little bitty doubt, just a little doubt still there. Let's knock that doubt out. We want you to be confident and to embrace it. These are your abilities, and here are the things in which you can do with it. Here are the roles, the responsibilities, the job families, the companies, the environment, the culture, the school, the trade. All of that must be looked at when you're trying to determine what's the best career path for you to go. Who you're going to be, do, and become. What's your legacy? I think I started out my conversation that way. What are you going to be known for when you are no longer here? What will you leave behind that others can glean from? That impact that you're going to make not only on yourself, but on your family, on your community, on your country, on the world. High performing employees, high performing individuals, high performing teams, high performing organizations. I always say you can be what you want to be. You can do what you want to do, and you can become who you want to become. But it's nothing like knowing who you are from your core. It's nothing like knowing that this is your passion and this is your purpose. It's nothing like knowing that you are working in an area where you feel fulfilled, that you have joy. It's nothing like knowing that you have happiness. And it's nothing like knowing that you happen to be working in a profession that you love and you just happen to get paid for it. That's what Levelist does. Levelist is all about knowing your worth, advocating for yourself, continually succeeding on your terms because you've defined what success is for you. You have created a strategy and put in place that you're now able to plan against it, execute and implement, and then deliver with excellence. And the last thing I like to leave with you this evening is document your performance. Document your experiences. Document your achievements. And you document this through journaling. I'm an advocate journal. I believe in journaling. I encourage my clients to journal because it is a way of writing your stories as they're happening. There's no right way or wrong way to journal. When you journal, how you journal, the way you journal is up to you. How often you do it is up to you. But if you go to my website at levelistco.com, you're able to receive a free complimentary ebook on journaling, a part of your new lifestyle. And that just gives you some tips that you can use as you're journaling. I'm going to bid you a good night, but in the midst of it, I want to say I believe in you, and I trust you believe in yourself. This is Maxine Phillips. See you next week, same time, same station. Have a great evening.
Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance. Telling me to dance, taking a chance.